If I'm being totally honest, yes, I did.
Revealed, Victoria Beckham resented husband David after alleged 2003 affair. Most unhappy I have ever been. Victoria Beckham opened up about her husband David Beckham's alleged infidelity for the first time. It was the most unhappy I have ever been in my entire life, the Spice Girls member said in the new Netflix documentary Beckham, per The Sun. The fashion designer, who wed the former athlete in July 1999, admitted she resented David following the cheating allegations. But she told producers that she internalized the trauma to support her husband's soccer career. It wasn't that I felt unheard because I was always mindful of the focus that he needed, she said. In 2003, David moved to Spain to play for Real Madrid, while Victoria remained in the UK with their sons Brooklyn and Romeo. While the couple doesn't name the women in the four-part docuseries, Rebecca Luce and Sarah Marbeck claimed they had an affair with the now-retired athlete at the time. Soon after the headlines began circulating, Victoria decided to relocate to Spain to be by David's side. It was the hardest period because it felt like the world was against us, she recalled. Here's the thing, we were against each other if I'm being completely honest. She further reflected on how the nightmare situation affected their marriage. You know, up until Madrid sometimes it felt like us against everybody else, but we were together, we were connected, we had each other, Victoria, 49, explained. But when we were in Spain, it didn't really feel like we had each other either. And that's sad. I can't even begin to tell you how hard it was and how it affected me. It was an absolute circus, and everyone loves it when the circus comes to town, right? Unless you're in it, she added. David, 48, also got emotional while recalling those challenging moments in their relationship. I don't know how we got through it, in all honesty, the Inter Miami owner said in the documentary. Victoria is everything to me. To see her hurt was incredibly difficult, but we're fighters, and at that time we needed to fight for each other. We needed to fight for our family. He continued, and what we had was worth fighting for. Amid the affair allegations, the British sports icon admitted that he was struggling to perform on the soccer pitch and felt physically sick every day. However, Victoria and David eventually overcame the hardship. About a year after the style moguls moved to Spain, they welcomed their third son, Cruz, in February 2005. The power couple, who have now been married for 24 years, expanded their family again in 2011 with the arrival of daughter Harper. Beckham premieres October 4th on Netflix. Victoria Beckham steps out for lunch just hours after David's Netflix docuseries hit screens and saw her candidly open up about the highs and lows of their marriage. Victoria Beckham was spotted out for lunch in London on Wednesday just hours after her and her husband David's new Netflix docuseries hit screens. The fashion designer, 49, cut a glamorous figure as she headed out for lunch in Notting Hill after attending the Beckham documentary premiere on Tuesday night. The series, which arrived on Netflix at 8 a.m., saw the couple give an unprecedented insight into their family life and marriage as the program charted David's footballing career. In the series, Victoria spoke for the first time about the aftermath of claims about her husband David's alleged affair with his personal assistant Rebecca Luce. Stepping out for the first time since the scenes aired, Victoria looked as elegant as ever as she repped brand Beckham by wearing a dress from her own fashion brand. She put on a very stylish display in a floating black maxi dress with a ruched waist, which she styled with a pair of peep-toe heels. Posh Spice toted her essentials in a small black handbag and sported her signature oversized shades as she stepped out after enjoying a spot of lunch. She let her all-black ensemble do all the talking as she simply accessorized her look with a pair of small hoop earrings. Despite a late night out at an after-party following the Beckham premiere, Victoria appeared fresh-faced as she enjoyed a lavish afternoon in central London. On Tuesday night, Victoria had looked as loved up as ever with her husband David as they attended the premiere for their docuseries Beckham at the Curzon Mayfair. The power couple were joined by their 4 children Brooklyn, 24, Romeo, 21, Cruz, 18, and Harper, 12, for the star-studded premiere, before they all headed to a lavish after-party at the 22. Brooklyn's wife Nicola Peltz and Romeo's girlfriend Mia Reagan both also showed their support as they put on a united display with the family to mark the huge milestone. David's mother Sandra and his father Ted, who both feature on the documentary, also joined the family at the premiere, as did Victoria's parents Jackie and Tony Adams. The large-scale event attracted huge celebrity names from the fashion, music and footballing worlds, including James Corden, Emma Bunton, Gary Neville, Anna Wintour and Alex Scott, among many others. The tell-all documentary saw David and Victoria open up on their much-publicized romance on camera, including the harder parts of their marriage and rumored infidelity scandals. At the premiere, David admitted that looking over his life for the documentary was challenging as he revealed the reason he decided to do it. When I retired 10 years ago, people started to ask me if I was going to do a documentary about my life and my career, and in all honesty, I wasn't ready to look back, he said. I wasn't ready to go over things, there's been so much going on, and I wasn't ready to process that. But heading towards the 10-year anniversary of me retiring, something felt right about doing it. In all honesty, I wanted to have something for my family and my friends and my fans, who have all lived this. He went on, I found it challenging looking back at these things that I probably had never looked at before or processed. That was a tough part for me, going over things. In the fourth and final episode of Beckham, Victoria admitted she resented her husband after affair allegations turned their life into a circus. After David Beckham moved to Spain to play for Real Madrid, the footballer found himself hit by claims that he had an affair with his personal assistant Rebecca Luce. Victoria and their children Brooklyn and Romeo then relocated from the UK to be by David's side, where the family found themselves under intense scrutiny, with Spanish media hounding them and fans intruding in their lives. Speaking about the experience on David's docuseries, Victoria confessed, "Did I resent David? If I'm being totally honest, yes I did." The show then cut to footage of the famous pair driving through Spain with their distressed son Brooklyn, who was crying as overzealous fans pounded on the window of their car. David attempted to console Brooklyn by announcing, "It's all right, Buster, they can't get in the car," while Victoria soothed him by saying, "It's all right, Mummy's got you." Cutting to modern day, Victoria candidly confessed, "If I'm being honest, it's probably the most unhappy I have ever been in my entire life. It wasn't that I was being unheard, I chose to internalize a lot of it because I was always mindful of the focus that he needed." David was also suffering as a result, with his performance on the pitch coming under scrutiny and Real Madrid losing 4 games in a row for the first time. Earlier in the fourth and final episode of the docuseries, Victoria spoke for the first time of the pain she suffered in the aftermath of the claims about her husband David's alleged affair. Almost 20 years after it was claimed he and the personal assistant had become close while he was playing in Spain for Real Madrid, Victoria revealed that the months afterwards were the hardest of her life and that she no longer felt like the couple had each other. Meanwhile, David admitted he still doesn't know how they got through the 2003 crisis, but he and his former Spice Girl wife knew they had to fight for their family, and said they felt like they were drowning when their high-profile marriage was in the headlines for months. The former England captain also told how he felt physically sick every day as he and Victoria faced a battle to save their marriage. In a searingly honest interview in the fourth and final episode, Victoria appeared to fight back tears as she was asked if it was the hardest time in their marriage. 100%, she confessed. It was the hardest period for us. Because it felt like the world was against us. Here's the thing, we were against each other, if I'm being completely honest. Up until Madrid sometimes it felt like us against everybody else, but we were together, we were connected, we had each other. But when we were in Spain, it didn't really feel like we had each other either. And that's sad. I can't even begin to tell you how hard it was. And how it affected me. David stunned the world when his alleged relationship with Rebecca was revealed in the now-defunct News of the World newspaper. At the time, Victoria had decided to remain in the UK so that her young sons Brooklyn and Romeo could stay in their schools. The decision left David lonely, and he admits that he struggled. He said, "When I first moved to Spain it was difficult because I had been part of a club and a family for my whole career, from the age of 15 to when I was 27. I get sold overnight, the next minute I'm in a city, I don't speak the language. More importantly, I didn't have my family. Every time that we woke up we felt there was something else. We both felt at the time that we were not losing each other but drowning. Asked how their marriage survived, David told how he feared playing football while his wife struggled to find a way through their crisis. Shaking his head, he said, "I don't know how we got through it, in all honesty. Victoria is everything to me. To see her hurt was incredibly difficult, but we're fighters, and at that time we needed to fight for each other. We needed to fight for our family. And what we had was worth fighting for. There were some days that I would wake up and think, how am I going to go to work? How am I going to walk onto that training pitch? How am I going to look as if nothing's wrong? I felt physically sick every day when I opened my eyes. How am I going to do this?" The crisis prompted Victoria to relocate to Madrid, where they bought a £3 million home which she says she decorated herself. She later went on to have the couple's third son, Cruz, now 18, in the Spanish capital. Victoria described their time in Madrid as a nightmare and an absolute circus, while David said the school run was live on Spanish TV. The designer admitted that was always perceived as the villain by Spanish football fans because she didn't move there with David right away, insisting that she only deleted until she could find suitable schools for their sons Brooklyn and Romeo. Detailing the moment David shared the news of their relocation in the documentary's third episode, Victoria said she replied, "What do you mean we're going to Spain?" David said, "We're going to Spain, when?" "In about 12 hours. Victoria added, "I was like, what do you mean we don't have anywhere to live? We don't have schools for the children. What do you mean?" But the reality is that we moved to Spain. Asked how she felt about the move, Victoria said, "Less than ideal." Victoria admitted that Spanish fans struggled to warm to her, particularly after it was reported that she didn't like Spain because it smelled like garlic, which she denied ever saying. "More often than not, I was always the villain," she said. "It was never about Spain. We had a family we had to think about. I had 2 children, Brooklyn and Romeo, and this is what nobody seemed to take into consideration when I was getting criticized for not being in Spain from the beginning. A kid has to go to school. I knew I couldn't move until I had a school for Brooklyn. I was doing Monday to Friday in London and then jumping on a plane to Spain. But everything was fabricated, taken out of context. It was never about Spain."